right, team, we are back with another Ramped Careers Daily Update. Today, I am live from my son's room. My office is under construction, but I'm here with my co-founders, Mitch and Manoj. Boys, how you doing?
Doing well, Danny. What are we going to talk about? Click, clack, moo. How's that type? Is that what it says?
I was thinking Goodnight Moon would be on the docket for today. Oh man. Well, today we've got a great topic. We are going to talk through how to get yourself in front of employers. And I know Manoj has gone deep on this topic with some of our fellows. So I want to kick it straight to you, Manoj, for some tips and tricks on this topic.
Yeah. So I think a few things that students can do, or even people that are not students, folks that are early career professionals can do to get in front of people, is focusing a little less on just mass spray and pray, and instead spending a little more time and effort on giving. I'm a huge fan of just giving first without having too much of an expectation. And I'll say why it works for two reasons. One is that if you're starting out professionally, the process of you giving something of value in and of itself is helpful, because you can't give without doing a bit of research. You haven't developed any core set of skills or an experience for you to be able to give without doing a lot of research, a lot of work. And so the process of you giving something of value to someone else means that you've learned a bit more about things that you may not know about, right? So it's a win-win, typically speaking. But more tactically, I think what students do is apply for a job online. Maybe the ones that are a little more thoughtful will tailor their cover letter slightly. They'll have a template. They'll swap out the name of a company with a new company. They might add a couple sentences here and there. The ones that are even more organized will have a list of all the companies that they've applied for, and then they just wait to see what the results may look like. And while that's not a bad strategy, and that is what seems to be encouraged today, given the channels that early career professionals have for employment, it's simply not enough. It's not enough because of the volume. It's not enough because everybody else is doing the same thing. So anything that you can do to get an edge over the others is a plus. So 3 things you can do to get an edge. You applied for a job. You know who the hiring manager is. What can you do? You can let them know that you applied for the job. It's one way that they at least can build a bit of recognition when they do get that application in front of them. But how do you get their attention? Shoot an email saying, hey, I applied for your job, but that's not give first. That's saying, I've already applied. I'm going to just get myself in front of you. It's almost like a take first mentality. What can you do to give? Let's say that you're applying for an SDR job or a BDR job. The company, the VP of sales is the person that's ultimately going to make the decision. You know who it is. Here's what you can do. First thing is do a little bit of research and ask yourself, what is it that'll be interesting to them? Would they be interested in a curated list of prospects that they can go after? Would they be interested in interesting ways to position their product or service? Would they be interested in a bit of a deep dive or some competitive intel on other products and services that are similar to theirs? Would they be interested in some kind of deep industry research that would be helpful for them? Would they be interested in first-hand introductions to people that can buy the product or service, right? And so asking yourself these questions will give you a little bit of an idea as to what is it that I can actually do. I know one of the things that, Danny, you've worked with our fellows in getting this done is, one of the things we encourage folks to do is just write a sequence of emails, film yourself pitching their product or service, and send it to them and say, hey, here's a list that I've built for you. Here are 20 buyers, and this is their contact information. These are the companies that they work at. And here's why I think your product or service might be a good fit for them, right? Can we talk about this? Should I get an opportunity to interview with you? Great way where you're giving something of value, maybe helpful for them, maybe not, but at least you've tried. And in the process, you've learned a lot more about what they do and why someone would buy the product or service, right? And so I'm just throwing kind of examples out there, and you have to, almost tailor it to the job that you're applying for. But that's a better way, man, of getting in front of people above and beyond just applying. What do you guys think?
I love it. First of all, let's summarize this to make it super practical for anyone listening. So I heard a couple examples. One, you could write email drip example. That basically demonstrates that, hey, I know your product or service. I can sell, I can write cold emails. Number 2 is you are researching a list of prospects that they might want to go after, maybe 20, 25 prospects in an example. Ideally, you have, the actual buyer personas in there. So the contacts you're reaching out to, the emails, you're showing who their ICP is and that you can do list building. Number 3 is maybe even some competitive research or analysis, which would probably be, in my opinion, maybe the hardest one, just because you really got to dig in and know what they do in their space, but not impossible by any means. But how do you touched on it a little bit, but what's the actual ask here? Or what is your what's the takeaway in the email that you're sending to, let's say, the hiring manager? So you send them this beautiful sales drip that you put together. Are you asking for a meeting? Are you asking for them to review this and give you feedback? Are you just giving and there's no real ask at the end? How do you tailor that?
Yeah, so depends on, whether you already applied or you're in the process of applying. If you've already applied, just you share it with them and say, should I have the opportunity to speak with you and further about my application? I'd love to talk about this in specific, and just leave it at that. Don't say, can I put some time on your calendar to discuss this? Because they don't owe you shit. Right. So I wouldn't do that. Now, if you haven't applied yet and you're contemplating applying, or there's no position open and you want to apply, then I think it's okay, right, for you to just ask for some time and ask for some feedback, because you're giving something of value. You haven't applied, right? So it's not like you're circumventing the process. Then you can say, hey, I'm super interested about this particular company or this industry. Here's the work that I've done. Even if it's 10 minutes, I'd love to know whether I'm thinking about it in the right direction. If you're a young, aspiring sales professional, not everyone will respond to it, but you might be surprised. More often than not, people may respond to it. And the reason why I said that, it doesn't matter even if they don't. You've learned something in the process because you have, right? Why else would you have done this work? Most people don't. Your competitors are not doing this work. And, there's also intelligent ways of doing this. This is a ton of effort, right? This is not easy. You can't apply for 100 jobs. Maybe you'll have to focus on 30. But I think there's ways of doing this intelligently, because when you look at what's happening in, let's say you're in the B2B space, right, which is where you see a lot of these SDR, BDR jobs, buyers are typically under 4 or 5 buckets. When you either sell into the office of the CFO, the office of the CIO, the office of sales, or the office of marketing, right, or IT. If you want to kind of even go deeper down into the CIO's office, pick one. If it's the office of the CFO, another thing you can do is just send 50 emails to CFOs and say, hey, recent graduate from this school, I'm very interested in learning about what the challenges are for a CFO in terms of daily job, how they're using software. I'm trying to work on a short industry report, and I'm happy to share the report with you. I'm trying to learn about the space. Can you tell me what your challenges are as a CFO? Dude, if you're able to get, and people might bite, they might talk to you. Now you've just interviewed 50 potential buyers. No matter where you end up, they know who you are. You've done a little bit of work with them. You have a 1-page simple report. They might have spent 20, 30 minutes with you. Recycle it. Use that for every company that you apply that has a product or service that's geared towards CFOs, and say, hey, super interested in this company. I've actually gone out of my way and had conversations with 50 different CFOs, many of whom may actually be your customers. And here's what I've learned about what their challenges are. I really don't know how many early career sales professionals are doing this. I mean, I don't know why they're not doing it. This is what you're going to do anyways. If you got a job as an SDR or BDR, right? Contact people cold that you don't know. Might as well get a damn head start and use it to your advantage.
Yeah,
I love it.
This is great. I've kept mostly quiet because I'm in awe of the process and in awe of the knowledge you just dropped. I mean, frankly, I don't see this ever, and I've hired, I don't know, 500 SDRs in my career, maybe more. So I have never seen someone go that above and beyond and just do it. And if they were to have done it, which we obviously teach our folks, they would have instantly gotten my attention. If somebody came prepared with a lead list, or even further, actually reaching out to these folks and getting thoughts on paper, I would have been like, oh my God, you have a job. Skip the interview process. You're hired.
The question that I have for you is, are we expecting too much? The reason why I personally don't think it's that much of a stretch is because day 7 into your job as an SDR, this is exactly what you're doing. And so my thought process is, what's changing if you do it T-minus 30 days before even you apply? I also want to be practical and reasonable. Why is it that you think folks are not doing it? Do you think it's because it's extra effort, or because they just don't know? Because if they don't know, I'm happy to help them. I mean, anyone that's listening to this, I'm happy to spend time with you, teach you how to do this.
I think it's both, right? So they don't know what they're jumping into necessarily. I certainly didn't when I took my first sales job. I didn't know I actually was going to make 60 to 100 phone calls a day and get hung up on and send hundreds of emails. I did not know that. But 2, if you're thinking about a typical interview process for somebody, they're probably interviewing at 10 plus places, actually putting the work in for every single one of those that could add up. So I'm sure the thought of the extra work is maybe intense if they do know.
I think there's actually another reason altogether, and it's simply that they don't know they're allowed to. They think that they have to follow a set process that's laid out, which is you apply, you wait. If you hear back, great. If you don't, tough luck. I didn't know that coming out of college that everything in life is made up. right? And you can color outside the lines. You can make your own rules along the way, as long as you're not infringing, on actual laws or other people's, rights. But there is no rules really when you get right down to it, right? And if you're doing something that is, you're putting in all this effort and you're showing that you are capable of doing the job. It reminds me of that quote. I don't know who said it, but basically be so good that they can't ignore you. And this is you demonstrating that you can do the role before you even interviewed or applied. But I think a lot of it is just, folks coming out of school don't know that they're allowed to do something like this. They're waiting for permission. They don't know that they can take their own life in their own hands and take action.
I'm sure that both of you kind of share my sentiments on wanting to help early career professionals navigate through the process. I think there's enough out there on how do you craft a resume, how do you craft a cover letter. I think those days are gone, man. I have so much faith in the talent that's coming out today that these folks are more than intelligent. They can definitely craft a resume and a cover letter. What's really going to separate the extraordinary from everyone else is, are you putting in actual, meaningful, thoughtful work? And I'm glad to help anyone that wants to learn more and, dive into the specifics of how to do it.
We all are. And I think that's, part of the reason we founded Ramped too, is to help this specific instance, right? Get workforce ready, capable, hungry talent in front of folks that need it as soon and as productive and as efficient as possible. I think it's a good place to leave it. We dropped a lot of knowledge, mostly Manoj today. He's dropping bombs. So if you're out there and you're listening, take note of this and do take him up, do take us up on our offer to help if you need it. That'll wrap today's daily update. For Mitch and Manoj, this is Danny signing off. See you tomorrow, everybody.